War in Ukraine, the 8th of April. Situation on the ground. Weather today. Kharkiv, mostly cloudy, some rain during the early afternoon. Svatove, mostly cloudy, some rain during the early afternoon. Donetsk City, cloudy. Kherson City, partly cloudy. The Ukrainian General Staff reported 159 combat engagements in the last 24 hours. Kursk area. 21 Russian attacks reported. We have confirmed Russian gains at Guevo. Russian sources claim to have taken Basivka inside Ukraine along the highway from Kursk. This is north on this map. That has been denied by Ukrainian sources. We do have ongoing fighting around that settlement. We can expect ongoing Russian attacks over the border and attacks to decrease the parts of Kursk that Ukraine still holds. Ukrainian sources do not report additional Russian force concentrations in this area. We can expect heavy fighting. Russian gains are not unlikely over the coming week. They are more likely to be limited than significant. We do have another Ukrainian incursion further to the east, and I will cover that over the coming week. North of Kharkiv, ongoing limited Russian attacks, no confirmed changes. We can expect similar attacks over the coming week. Russian forces are likely probing Ukrainian positions, looking for weaknesses. Changes are unlikely over the coming week. Minor changes cannot be excluded. Kupiansk-Svatove area. The Ukrainian General Staff reported only 4 Russian attacks. We have more attacks reported by other sources. Russian attacks continue pushing north of Kupiansk over the river. We have some reports that Russian forces might have pushed slightly west of Zapadne, just north of Kupiansk. In general, we continue to have 3 major areas of operations in this sector. North of Kupiansk, where Russian forces have crossed the Oskil River and are trying to push west. We have Russian attacks around Senkova, where they are trying to push south along the river. And then we have Russian attacks southeast of that position. The Russian gains are happening mostly north of Kupiansk, and so that remains the main area of combat here. Russian limited gains are not unlikely over the coming week. Kremina area. 21 Russian attacks reported. We have confirmed Russian gains west of Novolyubivka, where Russian forces have expanded their bridgehead. All indications seems to point towards Katerinivka being a short-term aim. Ukrainian sources have previously indicated that the Russian focus is now at Novolyubivka, and that pans out with Russian gains. We have reports of Russian forces now using armored infantry vehicles. Considering the likely lack of such vehicles, that could be significant. We can expect that Russian attacks will continue in this area with the aim to both expand their bridgehead and also push towards the road leading north-south around Nova. Siversk salient, Bakhmut, Toretsk. At the Siversk salient we have some Russian attacks and a reported Ukrainian counterattack at Bilohorivka. We have unconfirmed reports of limited Russian gains at Verkhnyo-Kamyanske. No major changes. Russian probing attacks continue. I do not expect any significant changes here over the coming week. At Chasiv Yar we had 3 Russian attacks. We have minor Russian gains confirmed at Chasiv Yar. The tactical situation is problematic for Ukrainian forces, but they have so far mostly been able to stall Russian attacks. Minor changes can of course never be excluded. At Toretsk we had 23 Russian attacks reported. I have no confirmed Russian gains since yesterday. We have Russian claims of general gains in this area, but they are not confirmed. We have heavy Russian attacks and they will likely continue over the coming weeks. I see no indications that the overall situation is about to change here. Donetsk city area, Pokrovsk sector. Here we had 52 Russian attacks reported since yesterday. Russian attacks continue in force, and we also have some Ukrainian counterattacks. I have no Russian gains since yesterday. We do have limited Ukrainian gains at Shevchenko and a reported Ukrainian counterattack at Solona. The overall situation has not changed. Mostly the front line is static, but we have very heavy fighting ongoing all along the front. We can expect that to continue over the coming weeks at least. West of Donetsk city. Russian attacks continue at Kostiantynopil, with Russian claims to have taken that settlement. That is not confirmed and does not look likely at this time. That settlement is, however, contested. Vremivka area. We have minor Russian gains at Privilna. Russian sources claim to have taken that settlement, but that is incorrect. It is, however, contested. We can expect ongoing Russian attacks in the area between the rivers Moky-Yali and Vorona. Kamyansk area. We have limited Russian gains at Stepove. Russian forces continue attacking in force in this area. It is hard to assess the situation based on current information. I do expect ongoing, likely heavy fighting over the coming week. General conclusions. No major changes. Russian forces are making gains at Kursk, and we have heavy fighting in that area, with some Russian attacks over the border. Russian forces have also expanded their bridgehead in the Kremina area. Ukraine has meanwhile retaken some terrain south of Pokrovsk, and Ukraine has mostly stalled Russian gains in this area. European companies are ramping up production, with Rheinmetall taking over Hagedorn, which produces nitrocellulose, which is important as a propellant for artillery shells. As we now have a trade war in full swing, that will take away some focus from the war in Ukraine. At this moment we have a NATO in question, a trade war, and the need for Europe to significantly ramp up aid to Ukraine. That is coming, but it will take years to decades before Europe can replace US capabilities. This is, however, the direction Europe is taking. We can expect ongoing heavy fighting over the coming week. The Ukrainian situation remains problematic, but they have stalled Russian gains so far. We do have some warnings about a coming Russian spring offensive. If that will happen is unknown, but it is by no means impossible. End of report.